The sky above Earth was not its usual blue. Strange fragments, dark and metallic, rained down from the heavens. Humanity had watched in fear as alien vessels, massive and unknown, fell from distant stars, crashing into deserts, oceans, and mountains. Governments around the world scrambled, but the aliens were gone, leaving only wreckage behind. For decades, nobody understood their purpose. For decades, nobody dared touch the alien debris. But curiosity is a dangerous thing, and humans are stubborn. Scientists, engineers, and explorers slowly approached the wreckage. They scanned it, analyzed it, and touched it. Nothing exploded, nothing attacked. The pieces seemed lifeless. Humanity realized that these were not weapons waiting to strike, they were gifts waiting to be used. In the heart of the reconstructed city of Neo-Tokyo, Dr. Mara Ellison walked through the neon-lit streets, her eyes scanning the skies. The fragments of alien ships were now part of everyday life. Skyscrapers were reinforced with their metal, energy grids hummed with alien technology, and public transport hovered silently above the ground. Mara had spent her life studying these wrecks, trying to understand the minds that built them. No one else knew the truth, what the fragments could really do if assembled in the right way. One night, Mara received a message from an old colleague, Dr. Kiran Shah, who had disappeared for months. His message was simple: "You're not ready, but it's happening." Mara frowned. She had no idea what he meant, but the message carried urgency. The next day, she found a small piece of alien metal on her doorstep. It pulsed faintly, almost like it was alive. Panic surged through her veins. She had seen this material before. It was a part of the alien core systems. The ones humans were warned never to touch without proper knowledge. The city around her seemed oblivious. Children laughed under hovering lights, people dined in floating restaurants, and drones zipped through the air delivering packages. But Mara's mind raced. If this fragment was active, then Kiran had done something dangerous. Very dangerous. She rushed to his hidden lab, a place buried under the ruins of old Earth. The entrance was protected with layers of security only humans could bypass. Inside, she saw Kiran, pale and frantic, working over a console built from alien wreckage. Machines whirred, panels glowed with colors never seen before, and shadows danced along the walls. "Kiran, what is this?" Mara asked, her voice tight. He didn't look up. "It's what they left behind. Their war machines, their weapons, and their secret. They wanted someone to use it. Someone smart enough to understand it, and foolish enough to survive it." Mara stepped closer, eyes widening as she saw the holographic images projected from the alien fragments. Ships, weapons, and technology beyond imagination floated in the air. "You mean, you're building something?" she whispered. Kiran finally looked at her, his eyes dark with urgency. "Not just building. We're rebuilding. Humanity will have a chance to defend itself. But if we fail, if we make one mistake, this will destroy us all." Mara felt a chill run down her spine. The fragments were not just debris, they were blueprints, instructions, keys to machines that could either save the planet or annihilate it. She realized that the aliens hadn't left this wreckage accidentally. They had tested humanity, left behind tools to see if humans could rise to their level, or fall before it. The night was quiet outside, but inside the lab, energy surged like a storm. Panels flickered, machines hummed, and one fragment began glowing brighter than the rest. Mara's heart pounded. She knew instantly, Kiran had activated it. Something was coming. Something alive. Suddenly, alarms blared. A hidden defense system activated, locking down the lab. Kiran's hands moved fast across the controls. "They're still out there," he shouted. "They left us the pieces, but they didn't leave us safe. Whatever built this technology also wanted to watch us try it, and fail." Mara grabbed a console, trying to stabilize the fragment. Sparks flew. The metal pulsed faster, reacting to her touch. It was like it recognized her, like it was choosing who would command it. Outside, the city lights flickered. People stopped, looking up at the sky. A low rumble began, shaking the streets. It started small, like distant thunder. Then, the fragments across the city started to hum in harmony, resonating with the one Kieran activated. Mara realized with growing horror and awe that humanity had begun something it could not yet control. The alien wreckage was no longer just metal. It was awakening. And it had chosen Earth as its stage. Kieran looked at her, his face pale. Mara, this is it. Either we turn their technology into our salvation, or it becomes the weapon that ends us. And the galaxy will watch. The lights above the city flared, blinding, almost as if the sky itself had caught fire. Humans on the streets screamed, machines lifted from their places, and the fragments hummed like a living heartbeat. Mara and Kieran knew they were no longer just scientists. They were commanders of something far beyond human understanding. And in that moment, Mara understood the truth. The aliens hadn't just abandoned their technology. They had left a challenge. Humanity was about to rise, or fall, and there was no turning back. The fragments pulsed brighter. Earth was listening. And somewhere deep in the cosmos, someone, or something, was waiting to see if humanity would survive what it had begun. The next morning, Neo-Tokyo was quiet, but the calm was misleading. Humanity had no idea what had started the night before. The fragments that had pulsed and glowed now lay dormant, seemingly harmless once again. Yet Mara knew better. They were alive in a way humans barely understood, waiting for the right moment to awaken again. Kieran paced the lab, his eyes darting over the alien console. "I've never seen anything like this," he muttered. "It's not just a weapon. It's adaptive. It learns, changes, reacts. If we build it wrong, it will destroy us before we can even defend ourselves." Mara leaned over one of the smaller fragments, her fingers brushing its smooth surface. It vibrated slightly under her touch, almost like it recognized her again. So, the aliens, they wanted someone to use this? To become, what? Their weapon? Or their judge? She whispered. Kieran shook his head. "I don't think it's about them anymore. This is now about us. We can turn it into our greatest defense, or the galaxy's deadliest mistake." Outside the lab, reports came flooding in. Across the city, small energy pulses had been detected near other alien fragments. Scientists and engineers tried to investigate, but many fragments had locked themselves down, preventing anyone from touching them. The fragments were choosing their users. Humanity had thought it could control them, but they were already proving to be smarter than any human mind. Mara and Kieran worked frantically. The central fragment, the one Kieran had activated last night, had grown in size overnight. It floated in the air, spinning slowly, and faint lights traveled across its surface, as if mapping some invisible network. Mara felt a strange pull toward it, like it was guiding her hands. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from outside. Mara and Kieran ran to the lab's reinforced windows. They gasped. A group of fragments had assembled themselves in the city square, forming a strange structure that no human had designed. It looked almost alive, tentacle-like extensions of metal reaching upward, glowing with energy. People fled in terror, drones buzzed in confusion, and police forces tried to contain the panic. "This is bigger than I imagined," Kieran said, his voice tight. "They aren't just wreckage anymore. They're building something." Mara's mind raced. The aliens had left the technology, but they hadn't left instructions in words. Instead, the fragments seemed to communicate with one another, forming patterns, networks, even hierarchies. Mara realized that humanity wasn't just rebuilding alien tech, they were awakening it. Hours passed, and more fragments joined the structure. It grew taller, wider, and pulsed with energy that humans could feel in their bones. Kieran tapped rapidly on his console, trying to interface with it, but the fragment network was resisting. Every time he tried, the structure reacted, shifting slightly, almost like it was testing him. Then, the first attack came. Not from outside the city, not from aliens. No, from the fragments themselves. One piece shot a beam of energy into the sky, carving a glowing trail across the atmosphere. Mara felt a cold chill. The fragments were not just tools, they were alive and they had their own will. We need to control it, Mara said, voice trembling but firm. If we don't, it will destroy everything before anyone can understand what's happening. Kieran's fingers flew over the controls. Sweat dripped from his forehead. I've never interfaced with anything like this. It's learning from us as fast as we learn from it. Every command I send, it changes. Every input, it adapts. Outside, chaos spread. Citizens fled the streets, some stopping to stare at the metallic structure rising from the fragments. News drones broadcasted live images to the rest of the world. Humanity watched as the alien technology, meant to be a mystery, became a visible threat and a potential savior. Mara's gaze fell on the central fragment hovering in the lab. It pulsed brighter than ever, almost as if it were calling to her. She stepped closer. It wants me, she said quietly. It's choosing me. Kieran looked at her sharply. Mara, no. You don't know what that could mean. You touch it, and... Mara interrupted. I have to. I'm the only one who can guide it, or we'll lose control completely. The fragments, they're listening. They're waiting for someone to lead them. Taking a deep breath, Mara placed her hands on the central fragment. Instantly, energy surged through her body. Lights flashed, machines hummed, and for a brief moment, she could feel the fragment's consciousness, 1,000 thoughts, thousands of intentions, all trying to communicate. The fragments outside responded immediately. They shimmered, realigned, and started forming new structures. Not random, but carefully designed, almost architectural in their precision. Mara could see their purpose forming, a plan she didn't fully understand but instinctively knew. This is incredible, Kieran whispered. You're not just controlling it, you're guiding it. You're making it human. Mara felt a shiver run down her spine. Humanity had never built anything like this. The aliens had left the wreckage, but they hadn't predicted what humans could do with it. Mara realized the truth. The fragments weren't just tools, they were keys. And she was holding the first one. But as the structures grew taller and more complex, Mara knew one thing for certain. Someone, or something, was watching. Somewhere out in the stars, the aliens had left eyes on Earth, waiting to see how their challenge would unfold. And the challenge had just begun. By the next day, the city was transformed. Fragments hovered in the air, some floating silently above skyscrapers, others weaving into massive structures that defied human imagination. Humanity stared in awe and fear. Streets were eerily empty, as if the city itself had surrendered to the alien technology. Mara and Kieran worked tirelessly in the lab, their eyes glued to the central fragment. Mara's hands moved over its surface with confidence now. She could feel the fragments around the city responding to her, aligning, shaping, almost as if they obeyed her thoughts. Yet every time she guided one, another pulse of energy hit the city, reminding them that these were not human machines, they were alive in a way humans could barely comprehend. Suddenly, an alarm blared from the lab's outer sensors. Mara looked up. The fragments in the city square had shifted violently. Energy beams shot from their tips, carving the streets, sending concrete and debris flying. People watching from afar screamed and ran. Kieran grabbed Mara's arm. It's reacting to something, he shouted. Something external. The fragments sense it. Mara felt the pull in her hands intensify. The central fragment was thrumming faster, pulling her focus. Her mind reached out through the network, trying to understand what the fragments had detected. And then she saw it. A small fleet of unknown ships appearing in the sky, unlike anything humans had built or seen before. They weren't the wreckage, they were alive. They were real. Kieran's face went pale. The aliens, they're back. Or they never left. Mara's heart pounded. The fleet moved with precision, scanning the city. The fragments pulsed in response, sending streams of energy toward the approaching ships. It was the first human defense, and it was powered by alien technology itself. The first ship fired. A beam of blinding light struck one of the fragment towers, shattering it into shards. Mara could feel the fragments' pain, almost like they were alive, screaming silently. Yet, even as they were hit, they rebuilt themselves, faster than any human engineer could comprehend. Energy rippled across the city, forming barriers, creating weapons, and guiding Mara's thoughts like a symphony. This is amazing, Kiran muttered. They're fighting for us, Mara. The fragments are fighting for Earth. Mara focused, pulling her mind deeper into the network. She could sense the fragments' consciousness, a hive-like intelligence now fused with her own. They were learning from the enemy, adapting. Every strike from the alien fleet was countered, every beam deflected, every missile intercepted. Humanity had never witnessed a defense like this. But then the alien fleet changed tactics. Ships descended low, scanning the streets for human activity. Mara's chest tightened. The fragments could fight, but could they protect the people scattered below? She thought fast, directing energy toward the open streets, forming protective shields. The beams of light arced over civilians, stopping bullets, debris, and fire in midair. One ship broke formation, diving toward the central lab. Mara's hands shook. Kiran jumped to the control panel. "I'll amplify the fragment energy," he shouted. He tapped commands, connecting the lab systems to the central fragment. A wave of energy shot out, forming a barrier around the lab. The alien ship hit it with a thunderous impact, metal groaning and sparks flying. The shield held. Mara's mind raced. "They aren't just attacking us. They're testing us," she said. "The aliens left the wreckage, but they didn't leave themselves behind. They're checking if we can use it." Kiran swallowed hard. "And if we fail?" Mara didn't answer. She focused on the network, pulling shards of fragments from across the city into a coordinated formation. The alien ship fired again, but this time, the fragments redirected the energy, firing it back with precision. The beam struck the ship, and it faltered, sparks flying, before retreating to the main fleet. The humans watching from the streets and rooftops gasped. They saw machines, built from alien wreckage, defending them in ways they could never imagine. Fear turned into awe, and awe into hope. Humanity had not yet fought with its own hands, but they had just witnessed the first strike of Earth's new guardians. Mara looked down at Kiran, sweat dripping from her forehead. "This is only the beginning," she said. "They'll come back. The aliens will send more, and they'll be smarter. We have to learn faster, or Earth will burn." Kiran nodded, though he looked pale. "Do we even know what we're controlling, Mara? Or are we just lucky?" Mara shook her head. "It's not luck. The fragments are alive. They chose us. They want us to succeed. And if we do, Earth won't just survive. We'll be stronger than any alien threat in the galaxy." The sky darkened as more ships approached, forming a perfect formation above the city. Mara's hands hovered over the central fragment. She took a deep breath. Humanity had begun a war it had never seen, a war fought not with conventional weapons, but with the alien wreckage they had rebuilt into their own defense. And in the quiet before the next attack, Mara realized something terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. Humanity was no longer the prey. For the first time in history, humans had the power to fight back. The fragments pulsed, ready for her command. And the galaxy would never forget what happened next. The city had never felt so alive, and so fragile at the same time. Across Neo-Tokyo, fragments floated like guardians, casting sharp, alien shadows over the streets. Yet the hum of energy that once brought hope now carried a tense warning. Mara could feel it in the central fragment, pulsing faster than ever, signaling danger approaching. From the horizon, new ships appeared, faster, larger, and more aggressive than before. The alien fleet was not just testing Earth. They were attacking. Mara's heart pounded as she reached out through the network, connecting to every fragment she could sense. Each one responded instantly, pulsing and aligning to her thoughts. Humanity's first Real defense was awakening under her command. Kiran's voice broke the tense silence. "They're changing tactics. They've learned from the first wave. We won't have the same chance again. Mara didn't answer. Her focus was total. Through her connection with the fragments, she could feel their collective mind, an intelligence that moved faster than human thought. It was calculating, adapting, predicting. She directed shards of metal to form shields over the streets, defensive towers over government buildings, and sharp, pointed energy weapons along the highways. The first wave hit. Energy beams tore through the air, striking buildings, but the fragments reacted instantly, redirecting the attacks, absorbing and refracting the alien energy. Sparks flew, glass shattered, and the city shook. Humans screamed in fear, but none dared approach the fragments. They were both salvation and warning. One of the alien ships broke formation and descended toward the lab. Mara's pulse raced. She extended her focus, guiding a stream of fragment energy to intercept it. The ship fired, and the beam collided with the fragment's barrier. There was a deafening explosion that rattled the city blocks. Pieces of debris rained down, yet the shield held. The fragments were learning faster than the attackers. Kiran grabbed her arm. They're smarter this time. Mara, we can't hold them forever. Mara's eyes narrowed. We don't need to hold them forever. We need to make them regret attacking Earth. She directed energy to a nearby group of fragments. They twisted and combined, forming a massive, spiked weapon hovering above the city. The alien ships hesitated, sensing the sudden shift in the battlefield. A sudden pulse shot from the central fragment. Mara felt it travel through her arms, her chest, her mind. It was more than energy. It was power, understanding, and instinct combined. She realized the fragments were not just tools. They were alive, thinking, and now trusting her to lead them. With a deep breath, Mara guided the massive weapon toward the leading alien ship. Energy beams fired in precise bursts, hitting the ship's engines. Sparks and flames erupted from its hull as it faltered and spun out of formation. The other ships paused, reassessing the threat. For the first time, the aliens realized Earth's defenders were more than human. They were something new. Below, humans watched in awe and fear. News drones captured every moment, broadcasting live images to the rest of the world. Humanity had never seen power like this. Machines alive, guided by humans, holding back an alien fleet with sheer ingenuity and courage. Kiran leaned close, voice barely above a whisper. Mara, this is beyond anything we imagined. We're not just defending Earth. We're showing the galaxy what humans can do. Mara didn't reply. Her mind was fully immersed in the fragments, coordinating every movement, every defense, every strike. The city was alive with energy, the fragments forming moving patterns of metal and light that danced across the skyline. They were fast, adaptive, and terrifyingly precise. The alien fleet regrouped, but now it was different. Their attacks were slower, hesitant. Mara sensed fear, or at least caution, in their patterns. The fragments had not just defended, they had learned. They had adapted. Humanity, with the help of the alien technology, was no longer prey. Mara's focus intensified. She felt a sudden pull from one of the outer fragments, a distress signal. A part of the city was vulnerable, civilians trapped under debris. Mara sent energy toward it, creating a protective dome that lifted the rubble and shielded the people. Kiran watched in awe. They're protecting us. Intentionally. They understand human life. A loud rumble shook the streets. One of the alien ships fired a massive energy cannon. Mara felt the pulse hit her through the central fragment, pain mixing with awareness. She focused, sending energy back, not just as defense, but as an attack. The beam struck the ship, tearing its hull apart. Pieces of metal and fire rained down into the ocean beyond the city, and the remaining alien vessels paused. Mara gasped, breath shaking. The fragments pulsed around her like a heartbeat. They were alive, connected, and ready for whatever came next. She realized the truth. Humanity had unlocked something incredible, something the aliens hadn't predicted. The fragments had chosen their leaders, and through them, Earth was no longer defenseless. Kiran's voice was quiet now, almost reverent. Mara, We're witnessing the birth of a new power. The aliens left their wreckage, but they didn't leave us helpless. We've made it into our greatest weapon, and it's alive. Mara looked at the city, glowing under the energy of the fragments, and felt a strange calm. The battle was far from over, but humanity had already changed. The aliens had underestimated humans, and that mistake would cost them. Above the skyline, fragments hovered like silent guardians, ready for the next wave. Mara clenched her fists. Earth was awake now, and the galaxy would soon learn that humans, together with what the aliens left behind, were a force no one could ignore. The night sky over Neo-Tokyo was ablaze with energy. The fragments hovered in perfect formation, glowing like living stars, their pulsing light reflecting off the buildings below. Mara felt every vibration, every hum, every flicker of energy, as if she were the heart of this new, alien life. The city was no longer just a home, it was a fortress, alive and aware. Kiran stood beside her, scanning the horizon. They're not retreating. More ships are coming. And these aren't scouts, they're a strike fleet, he said, his voice tense. They've learned from the first wave. They'll hit harder, faster, smarter. Mara's hands moved over the central fragment instinctively. It pulsed in response, sending energy throughout the city's fragments. She could feel their consciousness now, 1,000 minds acting as one. They had adapted once. They would adapt again. But Mara knew something else. This was no longer just defense. This was war. The first ship of the new wave descended rapidly, firing beams that tore across skyscrapers. Mara sent energy through the fragments, creating shields and weapons faster than the attackers could react. The city shook with explosions, but the fragments held. Civilians screamed from the streets, but they were guided to safety by moving walls of alien metal, like invisible hands shepherding them to secure zones. Kiran shouted, pointing at the approaching ships. Mara, they're coordinating attacks. This is different, they're learning from us too. Mara didn't hesitate. She reached deeper into the fragment network, sending precise commands. Towers of metal rose from the streets, forming spiked barricades, weapons launched from the ground, and energy pulses struck the alien ships mid-air. The fragments weren't just defending, they were fighting, thinking, and predicting the enemy's every move. One alien ship broke through the defenses and aimed directly at the central lab. Mara's chest tightened. I won't let them take it, she said, her voice steady but her mind racing. She pushed her connection to the fragments further than ever, directing them to form a massive barrier around the lab. Energy arcs flashed across the sky as beams collided. Sparks and fragments flew in all directions, but the shield held. Kiran grabbed her arm, eyes wide. Mara, they're not just ships. They're alive in a way we can't understand. And they're testing us, seeing what we can do with the fragments. Mara's gaze hardened. Then we'll show them. We're not just survivors. We're humans. And we won't be underestimated. The fragments pulsed, almost as if acknowledging her determination. They moved faster now, combining into massive shapes, towers, walls, weapons, and even vehicles. Every fragment in the city was responding to her command, creating a dynamic battlefield. The aliens fired, but the fragments deflected, absorbed, and returned every attack with precision. Then, Mara felt it, a new pulse, stronger than anything before. One of the alien ships had activated a device, sending a wave of energy toward the city. Buildings shook violently, alarms screamed, and the fragments quivered. Mara's hands hovered over the central piece, trembling. She could feel the threat, and it was unlike anything she had ever experienced. Kiran shouted over the noise. That pulse, if it hits, it could overload the entire fragment network. Earth could collapse. Mara's mind raced. She reached into the network, searching for a solution. Energy flowed from her, through the central fragment, spreading into every shard across the city. The pulse hit, and for a moment, it felt like time stopped. Sparks flew, metal groaned, and then, the fragments absorbed it. They didn't just block it, they turned it back. The alien ship shuddered, caught off guard. Mara directed the energy back at the fleet, beams of light tearing through the sky, striking the alien vessels one by one. Ships exploded, others faltered, and the remaining fleet paused. Humanity's defense, powered by alien technology, had proven stronger than the attackers anticipated. Below, humans stared in disbelief. Their city, once helpless, was now alive, defending them with a precision no army could match. Fear turned into hope, and hope into awe. Humanity had fought its first galactic battle, and they had not just survived, they had won the first strike. Mara lowered her hands, exhaustion washing over her. Kieran exhaled slowly, looking around the lab at the floating fragments. "They underestimated us," he said quietly. "They thought we were weak, disorganized, predictable. But the fragments, they've made us stronger than we ever imagined." Mara nodded, though her mind was already racing. "This is just the beginning. They'll come back. And next time, it won't be just a test. It will be a war. We have to be ready." The fragments pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat, acknowledging her words. Mara realized the truth. Humanity had unlocked a power the galaxy had never seen, and Earth was no longer a world to be conquered, it was a world to be feared. And somewhere beyond the stars, the aliens watched, silent and calculating, unaware that they had awakened something far more dangerous than they intended. A human spirit fused with alien technology, unstoppable and relentless. The sky over Neo-Tokyo had turned into a battlefield. Alien ships hovered in formation, their sleek, dark hulls glowing faintly, while Earth's fragments moved with precision, forming shields, weapons, and massive energy arrays across the city. Mara felt the pulse of the central fragment deep in her chest. She was no longer just guiding it, she was part of it. The fragments were alive, and now they trusted her completely. Kieran rushed into the lab, urgency written across his face. "Mara, they've deployed something new. Sensors can't fully read it. It's unlike anything we've seen before. This wave, it's intelligent." Mara's eyes narrowed. She reached out through the network, trying to understand what the fragments sensed. Then she felt it, a massive energy pulse moving toward the city, not random, but calculated. The aliens weren't just attacking, they were testing Earth's defenses, probing for weaknesses, learning from every strike the fragments made. "They're trying to break us," Mara said, her voice steady. "But we won't break. We adapt. We fight. And we survive." The first ship of this new wave unleashed a barrage of energy missiles. The fragments reacted instantly, weaving shields that absorbed the blasts and fired back concentrated beams. Buildings shook, glass shattered, and civilians ran for cover. Yet the fragments moved with almost human-like understanding, protecting the people while counterattacking the fleet. Kieran's voice shook. "Mara, the alien ships, they're analyzing every move. If they figure out the fragments' weaknesses—" "I know," Mara interrupted. "We can't show fear. We have to lead them into underestimating us again." She focused on a fragment near the city's outskirts, directing it to rise like a massive tower. Energy crackled along its surface as it pointed toward the alien fleet. A single pulse fired, faster than human weapons, striking one ship directly in its engines. Sparks exploded, and the ship faltered. The remaining fleet hesitated. The fragments had adapted once. They were learning faster than the aliens anticipated. Mara realized the fragments weren't just fighting, they were evolving with her guidance. Each attack made them stronger, faster, smarter. Humanity had never commanded a weapon like this. They were no longer prey, they were hunters. Suddenly, a ripple of energy surged from the fleet. One massive ship broke formation and aimed directly at the lab. Kieran's eyes widened. "Mara, that's..." Before he could finish, Mara had already extended her mind into the fragments. She directed every available shard to converge around the lab. Energy shields formed a dome, spikes and beams creating a defensive perimeter. The alien ship fired, and the explosion lit the night sky, shaking the city. But the shield held. Mara could feel the fragments communicating with her, sensing her determination, channeling it into raw power. "This is it," Mara whispered. We turn their attack into our advantage. With a thought, the fragments reshaped themselves, forming massive, moving constructs above the city. Spiked towers, energy lances, and hovering shields rearranged at lightning speed. The aliens fired again, but the fragments absorbed, reflected, and redirected their attacks with surgical precision. The city became a battlefield of light and metal, a testament to human ingenuity combined with alien power. Kieran watched, awe written on his face. They're not just fighting back, they're anticipating moves before they happen. Mara, they're thinking like humans. No, like us. Mara's pulse raced. She could feel the fragments' awareness deepening. They weren't just machines, they were alive, and now they were choosing to protect humanity, to fight for Earth. She directed a concentrated energy wave toward the lead alien ship, striking its hull. Sparks flew, hull plating cracked, and the ship faltered, then spun out of formation. The remaining fleet paused, their coordinated attack disrupted. Mara realized they were cautious now, hesitant, unsure of how to handle a human-led force that could adapt so quickly. Humanity had learned, and the aliens were witnessing it firsthand. Below, people watched in disbelief. Their city, once helpless, now stood alive, defending them with a precision no human army could match. Fear turned into hope, hope into awe, and awe into determination. Earth's defenders were not soldiers, they were humans fused with technology the galaxy had never imagined. Mara felt a wave of exhaustion wash over her, but she couldn't stop. Not now. Not ever. The fragments pulsed gently, acknowledging her will, ready for the next wave. She turned to Kieran. This isn't over. The aliens will come back. And next time, it won't be just a test, it will be full-scale war. Kieran nodded, his face pale but determined. Then we'll be ready. With them, with the fragments, humanity can fight back like nothing the galaxy has seen. Mara's gaze shifted to the horizon, where more alien ships were forming, dark against the starlit sky. A fierce smile crossed her face. Earth had begun to rise. The fragments had chosen their leaders. And now, no matter what the aliens sent, humanity would stand. The night was alive with energy, pulsing, watching, ready. Mara knew the galaxy would soon learn a dangerous truth: underestimate humans at your own peril. The sky over Neo-Tokyo burned with alien fire. Ships, sleek and black, hovered above the city like predators circling prey. Energy pulses lit the streets below, and fragments moved with terrifying precision, forming shields, weapons, and living constructs that defied imagination. Mara stood at the heart of it all, her hands on the central fragment, feeling every pulse, every vibration, every heartbeat of the alien technology. This is it, Kieran said beside her, his voice tight with tension. They've brought everything they have. If we fail now, we won't fail, Mara interrupted. Her gaze was sharp, her mind connected to the fragments. We've learned. We've adapted. Earth isn't theirs to take. The alien fleet advanced in unison. Mara could sense their intention, the strategy embedded in every movement. But the fragments had learned too. They moved faster, anticipating, countering, evolving. Humanity's defense was no longer reactive. It was proactive, a living weapon capable of outthinking and overpowering the attackers. The first wave of beams struck the city, and the fragments surged forward. They absorbed energy, redirected attacks, and formed massive weapons that fired with pinpoint accuracy. One ship faltered, struck directly by an energy lance that twisted from the fragments themselves. Sparks and debris rained down into the ocean beyond the city. Kieran shouted, pointing at a larger ship at the fleet's center. The command ship. Mara, if we take it out, the rest will retreat. Mara nodded. She directed the fragments to converge, forming a colossal, spiked construct that reached higher than the tallest skyscrapers. Energy flowed from every shard into the central fragment, and through her, into a single, focused strike. The command ship glowed as beams converged on it, striking with devastating force. Hull plating cracked, engines faltered, and the ship exploded in a blinding flash that lit the night sky. The remaining ships hesitated. Their formation wavered. Mara felt the fragments pulsing around her, alive and aware, sensing victory. Humanity had turned the aliens' test into an opportunity, mastering their technology in ways no one had imagined. Then, a massive ripple shook the city. Mara gasped. Another fleet, larger, faster, more advanced, was emerging beyond the horizon. The aliens had reinforcements, and they were not just testing, they were sending a final strike. Kieran's voice shook. Mara, they've learned from the first attack. If this wave hits, Neo-Tokyo won't survive. Mara clenched her fists, determination blazing in her eyes. Then we show them what humans can do. She reached deeper into the network, connecting with every fragment in the city, and even those farther out. Energy surged, forming a living army of metal and light. Towers, shields, and weapons rearranged instantly, creating formations no alien mind could predict. The second wave hit, and chaos erupted. Beams tore through the sky, fragments collided with ships, and energy rippled across the city. Mara felt every strike, every movement, and guided the fragments with precision. They adapted faster than the aliens could calculate, turning every attack into an opportunity to strike back. One by one, ships faltered, engines failing, weapons destroyed by the fragments' coordinated assault. Mara directed energy beams toward the fleet's center, targeting command systems. Sparks exploded, ships spun out of control, and the alien forces began a full retreat. Humans on the streets watched in disbelief. Their city, once helpless, had become a living weapon. Fear turned to awe, awe to hope, and hope into unshakable belief. The fragments were not just machines, they were guardians, alive and fighting for humanity. Mara felt the central fragment pulse, as if acknowledging the victory. Kieran looked at her, eyes wide with wonder. Mara, we did it. Earth, we survived. We didn't just defend ourselves, we became unstoppable. Mara nodded, exhaustion washing over her. The aliens underestimated us. They left their technology, thinking they could control it. They didn't realize that humans would rise above it. And now, Earth isn't just safe, it's a force the galaxy cannot ignore. Above the city, fragments hovered, glowing like stars, forming patterns of strength, unity, and intelligence. The alien fleets had vanished, but the lesson remained clear. Humanity had taken what was meant to be a challenge, a test, and transformed it into power beyond imagination. Kieran smiled faintly. What do we do now? Mara looked at the fragments pulsing around them, alive, powerful, and aware. We keep learning. We keep building. And we make sure that no one in this galaxy ever doubts humanity again. The night sky slowly calmed, stars reflecting off the glowing fragments. Neo-Tokyo stood as a symbol, a city rebuilt from alien wreckage into the galaxy's most formidable defense. Mara felt the fragments pulse in her chest, steady, alive, and connected. Earth had fought. Earth had won. And from the depths of space, anyone who dared challenge humanity again would remember this moment. The rise of a species that refused to bow, that turned what was meant to destroy them into a weapon of unimaginable power. The fragments pulsed one last time for the night, as if whispering a promise. Humanity was awake. Humanity was ready. And the galaxy would never forget it.